Excuse me if I look a little shit. It's been a long day. Now, I want to go over just quickly the new director take on the conversation of 6v6 and 5v5. If you want to stay up to date on the latest Overwatch 2 news, hit that subscribe button. We're also going to be doing some Marvel Rivals content as well, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. But just let's go ahead and give this a read. Hey everyone, there's been a lot of talk about 6v6 lately, and it's only intensified in recent weeks since we posted our last director's take and made a Twitter post with a promise to talk about it in the future. Well, now it is the future, and this is that next piece. So let's get into it. Wait, let's not quite get into it. This is a pretty complex and nuanced topic, and it gets to the beating heart of what makes the game tick. Our players have different opinions and preferences about the ideal number of players in an Overwatch match, and so does our team. We're a microcosm of the broader community and discuss this internally. I'm hoping that this piece will serve as an introduction to our own discussions and jumping off point to engage with you all. I'd like to set a few expectations and ground rules. First, it's pretty long. Creators are going to lose their mind, lose their voices reading this one aloud. Oh, fuck, that's long. Okay. If you like to tell the lore, what's next section should suffice. Secondly, I'm not here to tell you what you ought to like or what's empirically better. This is a game, and your preference for fun is relative to your own tastes, ability, and experience. Lastly, these are the years of decisions that affect a fundamental piece of Overwatch. Some of you might not be intimately aware of these, while others might not. Before diving in, I'd like to set a stage and context some larger changes to the game that will culminated in the 5v5 format we have today. I'm going to just briefly go over this. I'm not going to sit here and read this entire thing. It's a lot, and my brain is fried today, ladies and gentlemen. Hero limits. So that's some hero limits. You could have 6 Genji to 6 Reinhardts in the start. You didn't have to. There was no hero limit whatsoever starting off in Overwatch, so they added that. The second large change they added was role queue and open queue. Before the role queue was enforced, you could have as many number of roles as you could have. So you could have 4 supports, a tank, and a DPS. You could have 3 tanks and 2 supports and a DPS. You could have a team full of tanks. You could have a team full of DPS, and it kind of made games hard to win, or at least enjoy, because you'd be playing and then you jump into a comp match and 5 people on the team, 4 people on the team insta-lock a DPS character, and it's right, we need a tank, guys, we need at least we need a tank and a support. So they introduced role queue, enforced the 2-2-2 team composition. So 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. This is not 6. So they added that just to kind of make that simpler. And then the third major format change was to shift to 5v5. Now, why the team switched to 5v5 was we talked about greater individual agency that players could have in a 5v5. Overwatch is a team sport and requires players to rely on each other to be successful. This is even more the case previously, and the game could be frustrating if your team was out of sync. Many times fights in 6v6 couldn't be resolved until ultimate abilities came online. Correct that, until ultimate combos could be executed to break through 2 tanks worth of mitigation supported by high uncontested healing output. The World 6v6 could have really high highs but really low lows. So 5v5 was there to kind of make the team element a little more forgiving, allow people to sort of be able to operate on their own a little more and not too heavily rely on the team working in perfect sync. So they did less damage mitigation in CC. Damage heroes often complained that their role was the least impactful relative to the strength of super powerful tank synergies, and support heroes undoing their playmaking. Also had a lot more focus accessory on healing I can't fucking read, my brain is so scrambled. Support heroes also had to focus almost exclusively on healing, since there were bigger team health pools and more incoming damage on the field with the additional tank player. In 5v5 they had more agency to add some damage or duel other heroes. Tank synergy wasn't always fun. It slowed the game down and stabilized it, but sometimes it was absolutely ground to a halt. People point out the double shield meta was an example of this. It wasn't just double shields though. The ability to stack a very defense heavy lineup, especially in game modes that required a team to push through a small choke. Double shields are horrible, man. Absolutely horrible. Right, the queue time data and context. The chart below shows ranked play queue times per role after the introduction of role queue to Overwatch in 2019, compared to queue times per role in Overwatch 2's 5v5 role queue format. As you can see, the shift to 5v5 role queue dramatically reduced queue times for players in all roles, and most notably the damage role, which is the most popular role. So 6v6 post role queue times averaging about 7 minutes. Damn. You can see it dramatically changes for the DPS role to 2.9 on competitive role queue times. The biggest factor for driving the difference between Overwatch and Overwatch 2 queue times is the ratio of players queuing for each role. We hear players speculate that long queue times are a result of not enough players playing Overwatch. That isn't the case, but instead that relative to other roles, players generally queue tank less, leading to longer wait times for all while we wait for a tank to free up to find a proper match. So in practice, the actual ratio of players queuing for tank, damage and support is much closer to the current 1-2-2 format than the previous 2-2-2 format. As a result, the 5v5 role queue format better mirrors actual player interest in each role and making the switch resulted in shorter queue times. Sharp drop off in queue times in October 2022 when Overwatch 2 launched. Along with 5v5, the queue times of all heroes dropped and now much shorter than they were in a 6v6 world. Almost all because the game required one less tank in a match. If you look at the current queue times, you can see that there's still a lack of tanks compared to other roles. Just flipping the switch and returning to 6v6 would likely cause a return to previous queue times or worse. Thoughts on 6v6? The game started its life with 6 players on each team. I discussed why we moved away from 6v6, but that doesn't mean it's without any merit. There are moments of madness that could happen with 12 players in a match that just don't quite coalesce when there are 10. It was almost too much to keep track of. Correction, it was too much to keep track of at times, but that was part of the charm. There are big moments in Overwatch 2, but they don't quite have the same chaotic over-the-top feeling to them. Part of the chaos allowed players to feel less pressure in a match. This was an extra player to take up a bit of slack for someone that was performing poorly. And since that player was a tank, they had quite a bit of impact. There were a lot more hit points and defensive capabilities to burn through, which had a stabilizing effect on gameplay. Teams would fold a bit slower than they do now. We mentioned the difficulty in balancing tanks for 6v6 earlier, but for the past year and a half has shown us that there are issues with balancing tanks for 5v5 as well. For much of Overwatch 2, tanks have been fairly balanced, but when one of them becomes powerful outlier like Maga, they can feel strongly in the world of one tank. So what's next? I'm going to summarize this. I can't read anymore. My eyes are hurting me and I'm scrambling. So pretty much what's going to be happening in the next few weeks of Overwatch, you're going to be running some 6v6 gameplay tests to see if there's anything that works. If 6v6 can work, can they alter anything that 6v6 can work? Right. So we're going to be getting some 6v6 playtests over the next while. Hopefully something comes of it. They also said they're going to be trying to test out some different ways that 5v5 could work. So it's going to be a bit of an experimental time for Overwatch 2. Will 6v6 be happening anytime soon? I doubt it. I say these tests are going to run for quite a while. So don't buckle up just yet. But guys, I know there's a lot more to talk about. And I'll talk about it in another video. So subscribe to stay tuned for that. But I need to go sleep. I need to sleep. If you did enjoy the video, hit that subscribe button. It does help out quite a bit. We are pushing for 500 subscribers. Again, I'm sorry. I know this video was sort of rushed and all over the place. I'm tired. I'm really tired, guys. But yeah, hit the subscribe button. We are pushing for 500 subscribers and it does help out massively. One of the best ways to support the channel is on my VGen and my coffee, so go check them out, linked in the description, and check out my Twitter and my TikTok as well. But guys, that's all I have. See you in the next one.